After marriage, Ethan became unusually clingy. Whatever I ate, drank, or whoever I met, I had to report everything in detail. One day he called me, his tone tentative. Joe brought a few girls along and asked me to go hot spring bathing. I said, "Oh, have fun." The call was hung up. 20 minutes later, he blocked the doorway at home, demanding hoarsely, "You just let me go with others?" I took a step back under his gaze. "Isn't this the boundaries you wanted?" As the words fell, he froze on the spot.
Welcome to listen to my full sweet love series novel. I'm the blogger and I'm Twilight's novel. Now let's start the main story.
Are you done? If you're done, you can leave. I really don't mind. Afraid he might misunderstand, I thoughtfully added. Don't worry, tomorrow at your parents' place, I'll cooperate well. Ethan's face instantly darkened. Anna, you're really something. He slammed the door and left. My sleepiness was completely gone after all the commotion. I curled back under the blankets and scrolled through my phone. At 2 a.m, an unknown number sent a few pictures. A young girl, wearing only a bikini, her pale body straddling Ethan. Steam misted the air. His arm naturally circled her waist, only a thin piece of fabric between them. Sis, I'm afraid of water, so Brother Ting is holding me. I envy you for having such a caring husband. I stared at the screen and thought, should I get up and catch them in the act? But it was too late now, the driver was off duty, and taxis were hard to get. Then, write a long message condemning Ethan? The weather was too cold. My hands would freeze. Better to copy one from old chat logs to deal with it. As I scrolled, I actually fell asleep. No wonder Ethan never read them. With the emotion removed, those texts were long and tedious. Quite sleep-inducing, though. The next day was New Year's Day. We returned to the Ethan family old mansion. While talking with the elders, the doorbell suddenly rang. Opening the door, the young girl from last night's pictures stood shyly and timidly outside, holding a pair of men's underwear in her hand. This was left at my place yesterday. The style was young and flashy. Only one man of the right age lived here. This scene was all too familiar. The year we got engaged, a girl had come to the door like this too. I went crazy, grabbed her hair and threw her to the ground. Ethan pushed me away, left with her without looking back, leaving me lying embarrassingly on the floor. That night, the old mansion was in chaos. No one had a good New Year. The elders said, the new year mustn't start badly. Sure enough, that year, Ethan and I fought the most fiercely. The living room was quiet, as if everyone was waiting for my reaction. I immediately smiled and smoothed things over. My cousin grew up abroad. We spent New Year's Eve together last night. Ethan's father sighed in relief, but his mother looked suspicious. Really? Really? I pulled the girl inside and closed the door. The last bit of expectation in Ethan's eyes vanished. On the way back, I took the underwear out of my pocket and threw it to Ethan. He stammered an explanation. Last night wasn't what you think. That girl is Joe's sister, and I was drunk. Nothing happened. I opened a disinfectant wipe and carefully cleaned my hands. I'll get off here. Zoe asked me to play mahjong. Ethan's Adam's apple moved. His voice softened. Shall I pick you up after? No need. I pushed the car door open. You do your thing. What happened to that underwear? I didn't want to know. I was just afraid it might have picked up something dirty. After a hot shower at Zoe's place and changing into the new clothes she prepared, the stuffy feeling in my chest finally disappeared. Watching Ethan's car leave, Zoe raised an eyebrow eyeing me. How was the battle? One against how many? Why didn't you call me for backup? I sank into the sofa. Didn't fight. Scaring men away is minor, but what if we scare away the god of wealth? That New Year's Day, the Ethan family old mansion was a mess. Several elders were angered into the hospital. I lay on the cold ground, and in the end, Zoe rushed over, stuffed my muddy self into her sports car. While turning the key, she joked. Did you come to Ethan's place to fulfill your childhood dream? Rolling in the mud. I opened my mouth, but tears fell first. Zoe, how did it come to this? She panicked, hurriedly wiping my tears, but had no answer. That Ethan and I had come to such a point, no one could have imagined. After all, we grew up together, known each other since we were in diapers. After all, that year, to get into the same university as him. I woke up earlier than the rooster, slept later than the dog, used every ounce of strength I had. The day I got the acceptance letter, my mother clicked her tongue in amazement. If I knew you'd work yourself to death for Ethan, why did I spend a fortune on tutors? Everyone thought I, Anna, should be locked together with Ethan for life. But just as we finally grew up, no longer had to share street food from the same stall. He was the first to let go. He hated the Ethan family controlling his future, forcing him to give up his music dreams and return to inherit the company. This hatred reached its peak after I agreed to the engagement. Pity I was only focused on getting my wish, my heart full of joy at finally being with my beloved. I completely failed to notice the love had long vanished from his eyes when he looked at me. After the engagement, he was often not home. I'd often wake up to find my phone filled with concern from well-meaning friends. Young Master Ethan spent a fortune on some model again, was partying on a yacht with girls on both arms again, held a wedding for himself somewhere again. Those messages were like mold growing in the rainy season, impossible to wipe clean. I had hysterically questioned, raged, made a scene known to all. It only earned me deeper disgust from Ethan. Can't you have some boundaries? Unhappy? If you're unhappy, go tell my mother to call off the engagement. Zoe accurately commented, our relationship was more like a rebellious mother and son than a couple. One desperately trying to escape, the other holding on tightly. I thought I'd be entangled with him like this for life. Never expected that after all the fighting, I suddenly grew tired. Nothing can't be understood with a look between best friends. Seeing my unusual calm, Zoe asked softly, so what are your plans? I took the glass of water she handed me. That project in the UK, both my family and the Ethan family invested heavily. I'm going there personally. How long? Tentatively 3 years. She held my neck reluctantly. Have fun before you leave. My treat. Don't worry. I smiled, leaning on her shoulder. You won't escape it. Late at night, the doorbell woke me again. Ethan leaned drunk against the doorframe, his tie hanging loosely around his neck. I checked my phone. The muted chat dialogue had accumulated 99 plus unread messages. Seems he couldn't reach me, so he came directly. A year ago, I would have been thrilled and flattered that he came home even when drunk. Then hurriedly help him inside, serve tea and water, busy half the night. But now my freshly washed hair smelled nice, the house was clean, I really didn't want a smell of stinky man's booze. Seeing I had no intention of letting him in, he asked hoarsely. Planning to leave me standing here? You've got the wrong place. This is my premarital property, not our marital home. I'll call someone to pick you up. While looking down for a number, he shamelessly moved closer. Anna, I want the porridge you make. I took a deep breath, suppressing the residual sting in my heart. Really? Really, you'll leave after eating porridge? He nodded repeatedly. I opened a food delivery app and handed it to him. Choose whatever flavor you want. He stood frozen, seeming mostly sober. Anna, you never let me eat this. Probably remembering right after the engagement, I wanted to be a good wife, specially hired a cooking aunt, learned step by step from cutting vegetables. But he wouldn't even look, let alone taste. I subtly posted pictures of my carefully prepared meals on my social media. Lots of mutual friends liked and commented. I thought, maybe if he saw it, he'd want to come home and try. But only heard Ethan joking at a dinner table. If you had a lapdog like Anna, you'd think my life is hard too. I have all these delicacies outside. Why go back and eat her pig slop? Amid the laughter, I ran home alone and cried for 3 days. Zoe was both angry and heartbroken. My lady, you'd rather starve than cook for yourself. Why learn cooking for a man? He's fooling around outside, and you're making yourself neither human nor ghost. I suddenly woke up. Never cooked again. What I make isn't good anyway. I pushed the phone closer to him, order delivery. He sighed, took the phone, his fingers brushed my palm, his other hand habitually moving to hold my shoulder. I jerked back, my back hitting the door with a dull thud. In the dead silence, he lit a cigarette. The flame flickered in the night, illuminating the features I once adored. Anna, I'm your fiancé, not some virus. Who's to say? I took half a step back. I need to sleep, work tomorrow. I don't know when he left. The next day, cigarette butts covered the ground when I opened the door. On the way to work, waiting at a red light, I suddenly remembered the night I proposed breaking up. Ethan had shut me out too. But that time, it was at our marital home. He was fooling around inside with a group, locked me out, even changed the code lock. The deep winter wind cut like a knife. I knocked on the door, my hand instinctively protecting my abdomen, my voice tearful. Ethan, open the door. My stomach hurts. It was the same girl from the hot spring yesterday, talking to me through the doorbell. The one outside, Brother Ting said. It's the Ethan family marrying you, not him. Just go, my Brother Ting says learn to have boundaries. I froze for a second. Then went crazy, banging on the door. The people inside probably found it amusing. Recorded it with a phone pointed at the doorbell camera. In the background, the hot spring girl asked in a cutesy voice. Brother Ting, she says she's unwell? His drunk, impatient voice came through clearly. Ignore her, just acting pitiful. In the video, I looked like a madwoman, crying and screaming, finally stopped banging, dragged my suitcase, step by step disappeared around the corner. This video was circulated within a small circle in our circle. Ethan was looked at all day with, "You're really not a thing," eyes, before he opened the video. Actually, he thought nothing of it. Just him having fun at home, not wanting her to ruin the mood. But the Ethan elders were furious, said he went too far, disrespected both families. So he came to me, with a forced resentful air. I didn't know you'd walk alone so late. I know about the video. He looked at me, as if assessing if I'd been sufficiently punished. People are gossiping, saying Ethan, drove my fiancé to the streets. Anna, enough, come back with me. He didn't know what happened in the darkness after that video ended. And I didn't want to explain anymore. Lying on the hospital bed, I turned over tiredly. Not your fault. Later we seemed to make up. But from that day on, I stopped caring where he slept, whether he came home. Quietly moved out of the marital home, back to my own premarital small apartment. Saying it wasn't his fault was a lie. I'm not the reincarnation of Mary. Giving up someone you've loved for so long is like tearing another self out of your own flesh and blood. When withdrawal hit, I'd lie awake all night, my heart feeling hollow, howling with the winter wind from that night. Moreover, my family's and the Ethan family's assets were deeply intertwined. Forcibly separating would have consequences no one could bear. I knew better than anyone. Our personal grievances were trivial compared to family interests. Perhaps the pressure from the Ethan family scared him. Perhaps he belatedly realized he'd gone too far. Ethan toned it down a lot. No more staying out all night. No more ignoring me. Instead, wherever he went, whatever he did, he reported everything in detail to me. One day, I was finalizing key terms for a project worth hundreds of millions at the negotiation table. Locked in a final standoff with the other side over profit sharing. The conference room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. All eyes were on my upcoming response. His messages kept popping up inopportunely. Something about booking a popular wedding dress designer, asking what style I wanted. When I didn't reply, he called, one call after another. The phone vibration was especially jarring. The client said understandingly, "Please handle it first, perhaps it's urgent." I nodded apologetically with a polite smile. Held back my anger until I reached the restroom, then answered the phone and scolded in a low voice. "What do you want? What's the point of endlessly asking about such trivial things? Aren't you annoying? Can't you have some boundaries?" After the barrage of scolding, the other end fell silent. I came to my senses first, rubbed my tired brow. "Sorry, been tired lately working late on the project. The style you choose for me." On the other end, Ethan was silent for a long time before responding dryly. "Okay." The car stopped outside the Ethan Company building. I was there to consolidate resources, then return to my own company to coordinate. In the pantry, I overheard colleagues gossiping. "See, this morning, Boss Ethan came with that woman again. Noticed that. Heard last time Boss Ethan even left his underwear at her place. What confusing behavior is this? Didn't Boss Ethan get engaged long ago?" Who doesn't know boss Ethan hates that Miss Anna? Always wishes she'd disappear. Thanks to Ethan never publicly acknowledged our relationship at the company. I, Miss Anna myself, got to hear this gossip. I drank my coffee, eyes down, calm on the inside. This little gossip was nothing. They hadn't seen much. Haven't seen a female delivery person show up at night wearing matching sexy underwear underneath. Haven't dealt with piles of late-night adult messages on his phone. Haven't been publicly offered tea and called sister by some unknown girl at a family banquet. Ethan never refused outside, and I always ended up cleaning up the mess. That pair of underwear left at someone's place really didn't rank. I resisted the urge to go out and set the record straight. Looked up and saw the subject of the gossip standing in front of me. The girl who was afraid of water in the hot spring was clinging to Ethan like she had no bones. Ethan saw me, frowned and told her to stand properly. I looked a bit more. She'd been with him the longest so far. The girl pouted, handed me a document. Aren't you the one from boss Ethan's house? I took the document, looked up to meet her gaze. You're the one in the bikini sitting on him in the hot spring. The surroundings instantly quieted. Her face changed. She bit her lip and demanded, "Can't you just let boss Ethan go?" I waved my hands repeatedly. "Don't cause trouble for me, little sister. I just want to prepare to go abroad." In a panic, I raised my voice. Used Ethan's usual excuse. "You call him brother, I call him brother too. What's this about letting go?" "Anna." Ethan's warning voice came from behind. "What nonsense are you talking?" I shook the document in my hand, turned and pressed the elevator button. "Brother, handle your private matters yourself, don't drag me in." The elevator door slowly closed, reflecting Ethan's livid face, and the girl's aggrieved expression beside him. Seemed like they were having some lover's quarrel again? But it had nothing to do with me. I checked my flight confirmation email. In 24 hours, I would be leaving. Stayed up too late partying with Zoe the night before. The next day, I barely made it to the banquet at Grandpa Ethan's. I placed the prepared gifts on the table. The first was a jade ruby, wishing Grandpa all the best. The second was the jade bracelet Grandpa personally put on me during the engagement. Today I returned it intact. The meaning was clear. I stood behind Grandpa Ethan massaging his shoulders. "Grandpa, please grant my request to break off the engagement with Ethan." Grandpa Ethan was anxious. "Did that boy force you again?" I shook my head, softly but firmly. "It's me. My feelings are gone. This engagement is meaningless. I'll take responsibility for the UK project, won't let either family's interests suffer." Grandpa Ethan looked at the bracelet, finally sighed deeply. "The Ethan family has wronged you." He thought for a moment, added, "For the UK project, you have full authority. The Ethan family will give an additional 5% profit share to you personally. Consider it a token from Grandpa." "Thank you, Grandpa." I smiled, didn't decline. I deserved this. The flight was in 2 hours. I offered tea to the elders and left early. As the car started, I took one last look at the mansion. Ethan and I grew up here together, from childhood friends to deep love. Now the music ended, the crowd dispersed, only I was leaving. At the corner, I saw Ethan's car driving into the compound, the hot spring girl vaguely sitting in the passenger seat. We passed each other. "Ethan, may you get what you wish for. And may I have a bright future ahead." Ethan rushed to the banquet hall, but couldn't find the familiar figure. He approached Grandpa, asking calmly tentatively, "What did that girl Anna give?" Grandpa played with the jade ruby, pushed another jewelry box forward. Inside lay a lone jade bracelet. Something she treasured, now returned by her own hand. Ethan felt a pang of panic. "Where is she?" Grandpa Ethan took a sip of tea, his voice unreadable. "Gone. She said she's willing to set you free. The engagement is off." Grandpa Ethan glanced at the hot spring girl. "You should be happy now." Ethan stood frozen. His first reaction was overwhelming exhaustion. He thought of his clumsy efforts to change, coming home even drunk, learning to cook for her, even personally choosing the wedding dress style. He'd done so much, conceded so far. And she was still making a scene. A wave of anger at being played surged up. Given Anna's personality, she was probably on a flight to the UK right now. So he vented by sending a message. Was it fun playing me? Watching me run around like an idiot, changing for her, did you get a kick out of it? Zoe didn't reply with a single word. Just sent a surveillance video. From a convenience store near the marital home. In the blurry footage, Anna walked in a daze, not noticing the stumbling figure behind her. The person lunged, grabbed her hair, dragged her towards the bushes. Anna struggled desperately, her cries broken. Please, let me go, my stomach hurts. In the background, panicked screams. Call the police. That madman is hitting women again. Anna lay on the ground desperately. Kept swiping her phone screen. Blood and incoherent pleas spilled from her mouth. Ethan? Answer the phone. Please, save me. The final scene was the dark liquid under me slowly spreading. And me lying there, eyes open, but motionless as if dead. What was he doing at that time? He was in the warm spring-like marital home, toasting with another girl. While rejecting my calls, he said. Ignore her, she's just pretending to be pitiful. The video ended, the screen went dark, reflecting Ethan's face, drained of color. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. So her calmness, indifference, and despair all had their traces. After I left, Ethan still indulged in pleasure and debauchery. He took various beauties in and out, having more fun than anyone. Who didn't say he was freer without me? Only Ethan himself knew he was a coward. He didn't dare to look for me. He just quietly registered countless alternate accounts, refreshing her social media day and night. Through the cold screen, watching her laugh by the Thames, the wind blowing her hair onto her face. She was like a pearl wiped clean of dust. After leaving him, no longer confined to the kitchen and love, she became shining. This made him resentful. And inexplicably somewhat panicked. He was gradually disappearing from her life. And she didn't care at all. One day, a girl dressed similarly to me climbed into his bed. In the dim light, he was almost moved. But at the same time, the image of her desperately knocking on the door, the large pool of blood under surveillance, their first lost child. All these scenes flooded his mind. He suddenly realized. He was trapped in memories, loving the same person over and over. He told the girl to get lost. Lit a cigarette, picked up his phone. The algorithm accurately pushed a video I had liked to his homepage. He opened the comments section and saw her message at a glance. Will someone really always remember the crush from when they were 17? Ethan blew a smoke ring. She probably regrets leaving impulsively, he thought. He almost immediately became certain of this idea. Otherwise, why would she bring up 17? That time belonged only to the two of them. I had always been the foolish girl in others' mouths. She only chases after Ethan, never letting up for a moment. He often slipped away from suffocating family banquets, sneaking into the dusty music room at school. The melodies flowing from his fingertips were dismissed by elders as lowbrow. I would always follow him out, quietly leaning on the windowsill, smiling and asking him to play another tune. Her curved smiling eyes were like a soft hook, tugging at his restless heart. Back then, he thought they would live forever in that bright summer. But later, reality came like a tide, submerging the grand secret world they shared. Her love became equated with family duty and marriage alliance value. He struggled desperately to break free, directing all his sharpness at her. But what she offered was never a shackle. It was her heart. He stubbed out the cigarette, but couldn't suppress the ache in his chest. He didn't hesitate any longer. 4 months after I left, he booked the earliest flight to where I was. At the branch company downstairs, I saw Ethan. He was carrying a few supermarket bags with greens, ingredients, and hot pot base. It looked utterly incongruous with his careless demeanor. He walked naturally beside me, as if there had never been any heart-wrenching arguments between us. Ethan asked casually, "Getting used to it here?" I looked at my phone. "Yeah, it's okay. The Chinese food here isn't authentic." He shook the bags. "I'll make hot pot for you." "No need." I didn't look up. "Someone cooks at home." He frowned. "Hired a nanny?" "Some Chinese here cheat their own. You're simple-minded, don't get tricked." I stopped replying to messages, looked up at him, suddenly finding it somewhat amusing. Why are you saying the same thing as my boyfriend? Before he could react, I turned my phone screen toward him. A table full of delicious-looking dishes. All my favorites. I shook my phone. He said live-in nannies aren't safe, so he does all the cooking. Ethan's breath hitched. Anna, his voice tightened, you don't need to find someone just to anger me. I gave him a puzzled look. Why would I find someone to anger you? At the apartment building entrance. He was still behind me, endlessly listing precautions. I didn't take out my keys, just rang the doorbell. The door opened from inside. A very tall man stood behind the door, wearing a simple white t-shirt, loosely tied an apron over it. He held a cup of egg and brown sugar water. Seeing Ethan outside, he paused, a questioning look in his eyes. Anna, do we have a guest? I stepped inside sideways, took a sip of the sugar water from his hand. Mumbled in response. Yeah. All the words Ethan had prepared instantly stuck in his throat. His Anna. In someone else's arms, looking at him with the eyes of a stranger. Calling him Ethan, an ordinary friend I haven't seen in a long time. Ethan started working at the branch. No one objected. He represented the Ethan family, it was natural. But I moved to the second floor, too lazy to deal with him. In the office, I was reviewing some reports. Ethan made a cup of bean and sesame tea and placed it on my desk. The same old routine. As if by pretending nothing happened, all the bad things could be wiped clean. He was like an ostrich, ignoring what really happened, only caring about his own feelings. When he liked me, he'd even praise street food he disliked. When he hated me, he'd embarrass me regardless of the occasion. The whole world had to revolve around his whims. I looked down at the documents. He made small talk beside me. Anna, do you want peanuts or green beans? Right. Hand this project to someone else. Go home and relax while the money rolls in. No way. Yesterday's cook wasn't reliable. I fired him for you? I paused. Answered seriously. He's very good. My boyfriend is truly very good. We met on an embarrassing rainy day. My car broke down on the highway. Waiting for the tow truck would take 2 hours. His car stopped behind. He got out and inquired. Not overly enthusiastic, just helped confirm the rescue process, then opened the car door. The rain's heavy, if you don't mind, you can wait in the car. Maintaining a comfortable distance throughout. The organizer was urging. I offered generous payment, cautiously asking if he could take me to my destination. He just glanced at my navigation and laughed. If you're going here, we can actually go together. When we got out of the car, we didn't even exchange contact info. 5 minutes later, we met again at an industry summit. He was the invited keynote speaker on stage. I was the bidder asking questions below. In just 15 minutes, he grasped the core value of my proposal and outlined the key steps for implementation. We exchanged a glance amid the applause. Sometimes, fate makes you urgently want to get close to someone. Ryan is that kind of person. He can corner opponents at the negotiation table. And also roll up his sleeves to cook me an authentic Hunan feast. What he gives is concern within boundaries, and respect beyond them. When I was entangled with Ethan, I always thought love was probably just that hurtful thing. But after leaving Ethan, I realized it wasn't even raining outside. Adult love doesn't require hysterical self-justification or thorough interrogation. When talking about Ryan, there's a light in my eyes. Ethan finally lost it. Pressed down on the file I was about to turn. What do I have to do for you to go back to how it was? I pulled my hand back, finally looked at him seriously. The past. Which past? When you were 5, 15, or 25 and rotten. Which one is the past you're talking about? I picked up the report and walked to the door, pausing as I held the handle. Ethan, life is a constantly flowing river. You can't even be as pure as you were at 18. Why demand I stay stuck in place being an idiot? The door closed behind me. Ethan stood frozen. He felt the powerlessness of punching cotton. The past he chewed over and treasured. She had discarded it like trash, not wanting it at all. I hired Ryan as the company's technical advisor. His and his team's professional competence is evident. He deserves it. But Ethan wasn't happy. He kept doing absurd things. He would squeeze into the conference room when Ryan and I were discussing plans, interrupting our conversation again and again. He would suddenly hand me a box of ibuprofen during a meeting, saying loudly in front of Ryan, "Your period's coming, right? You always have cramps." While annoying, each incident evoked memories, forming an embarrassing contrast, reflecting my past self, reminding me again and again how ugly and suffocating I was, desperately trying to fit into Ethan's world. See, people can't even empathize with their past selves. One day, Ryan and I were taking a short break on the terrace. After intense work, the project had made significant progress. We both sighed in relief. Ethan followed again, holding a report full of flaws, insisting I look at it. Ryan just glanced at the first page and said to Ethan, "There are 3 basic data errors on this page alone, Mr. Ethan. I suggest you have someone review it before submitting." Ryan was clearly all business. But Ethan looked as if he'd been slapped. His face turned pale. All the suppressed anger surged up at that moment. "Advisor Ryan," Ethan laughed. "Feels good, doesn't it, climbing the ladder by pleasing a woman?" Ryan looked at him calmly. "If you have questions about the project, we can discuss inside." "Cut the crap." Ethan raised his voice sharply, drawing looks from colleagues nearby. "You know perfectly well if it weren't for Anna, you wouldn't even get through that door." Ryan nodded slightly. "I don't deny that. Director Anna recognizes talent, and my team's ability matches. Any problem?" Ethan sneered, stepped closer. With a malicious, nothing-to-lose tone he said, "No problem. But, did you know she was engaged to me? Did you know she lost a child because of me? Between us, there's a past you can never intrude upon." As Ethan's words fell, a buzzing filled my ears, as if I was back in that winter night. The biting cold wind, the tightly shut door, the warm wetness spreading beneath me. All the deliberately forgotten details, carrying immense helplessness, overwhelmed me. I looked at Ethan's twisted face. Suddenly felt nauseous. He so easily chose my deepest pain as a weapon to attack another man. The person who smiled at me in the music room, who shared the same starch sausage with me, who waited for me at the classroom door after cleaning duty. Those scenes that made my heart flutter were shattered by his own hands in that moment. The young man's face overlapped with the person before me. But no matter what, I couldn't connect them anymore. My heart filled with sharp suffocation. I started breathing deeply as my therapist taught. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Oxygen slowly flowed into my chest, creating a sliver of breathing space for my huddled, aching heart. Ryan covered my trembling hand. His eyes held none of the shock or retreat Ethan had expected. He just said clearly, "That was your fault, not hers. You treat it as gossip. I just think it's a reason she needs to be well protected." I took leave and stayed home. Even Ryan spoke to me carefully. I hadn't meant to hide this past, but having it exposed this way felt embarrassing. I thought I was already calm, but that calm was built on the basis of no one mentioning it. Once torn open publicly, it collapsed fragilely. I hated this out-of-control weakness. It snowed again. I curled on the sofa, pulled back into that winter night, mentally flayed again and again. Ryan said there was a good ski resort. I let him help me change into ski clothes, pulled me to the resort. Sitting on the cable car, the wind howled. Ryan said, "If you're cold, we can go back." I listened numbly, already assuming we were done just by coming here. Standing at the top of the slope, looking down at the vast snowy field, Ryan skied down, stood on a gentle slope and shouted to me, "Anna, you've won championships before, show me." I came to somewhat surprised. How did he know? But I hadn't skied in ages. Ethan disliked it, called it a suicidal dangerous sport. He'd rather soak in hot springs. My heart itched. I was eager to try. The moment I rushed down the slope, it was long-lost freedom. The cold wind blew relentlessly on my face, like a sharp knife, cutting through the sticky troubles behind me again and again. I skied run after run, tirelessly. Ryan followed behind me with an action camera, always keeping a not too close, not too far distance. Until I finally stopped, exhausted, at the slope's end, leaning on the ground, breathing heavily. He skied to me, held the camera to my eyes. The screen showed me jumping on the slope. Anna. Look, you could always fly. That winter didn't kill you. It just made you lie dormant for a while. Now, don't look back. I looked up. Tears fell stubbornly inside my goggles. So becoming a calm person requires shedding so many tears. Now, it seemed they had finally run out. Just move forward like this. That day, I told Ryan everything. Without exaggeration, nor avoiding details. He listened silently. Just touched my head. You've been through a lot. I sorted out my feelings, returned to work. Ethan grew more puzzled by Ryan and me coming and going together. He stopped me, his tone strained. Anna, that day I didn't mean to. I looked at him calmly. Thank you for saying it. Letting me break free from the false numbness. Bravely push through the emotional backlash. To experience, to feel, to release. To reach the true calm after letting go. The panic in Ethan's eyes almost overflowed. He asked to meet me that evening at a trendy internet-famous restaurant, saying we needed to talk properly. Coincidentally, Ryan's team dinner was also scheduled there. After a few drinks, the atmosphere warmed. Teammates teased Ryan one after another for having ulterior motives. Ryan smiled, stood up calmly, took a ring from his pocket. Director Anna, after the project ends, want to find time to get married? Everyone started cheering. Only then did I realize. This wasn't just a dinner. It was Ryan's wingman plan. At the same time, a waiter was struggling through the restaurant, pushing that heavily embellished wedding dress Ethan had. Ethan followed in a suit. The dress's hem swept past tables and stopped before me. And my ring finger already wore another ring. Ethan's expression cracked piece by piece. He could no longer maintain composure. That night, he showed up drunk outside my apartment, ringing the doorbell repeatedly. Anna! He shouted through the door. Didn't you ask me if I'd always remember the crush from 17? I was baffled. Opened the door. The night wind carrying the smell of alcohol rushed in. When did I ask you? He frantically took out his phone, trembling, swiped to the comments section. It turned out to be a casual comment I'd left under a youth film trailer. Will someone really always remember the crush from when they were 17? Back then, I'd answered myself in my heart. No. Otherwise, why would Ethan and I go from childhood sweethearts to mutual disgust? Ethan's crazed state reminded me of the past. When he ignored me. I too had morbidly stalked his social media, trying to deduce his actions and thoughts from clues. Back then, he frowned, blocked my accounts one by one in front of me. Can you not be such a psycho? Is snooping on others' lives fun? Looking at his embarrassing state now, I suddenly thought, fate is a clumsy scriptwriter, poorly replicating Ethan into the version he hated most. I smiled. This is just a casual comment. What does it have to do with you? The light in his eyes dimmed bit by bit. He almost pleaded with me. Anna, please, can you not be like this? Can you say it to me again, that no matter how I change, you'll always love me? Ryan turned to look at me, his eyes full of concern for Ethan. I slammed the door, shutting out everything outside. Ignore him, he's just pretending to be pitiful. The doorbell rang futilely a few more times, then finally fell silent. I pulled Ryan onto the sofa, zoomed in on the map on the tablet. Forget about all that. The ski season in Switzerland seems just right. Ryan and I decided to hold the wedding back home. Zoe caught the bouquet, smiled and winked at Ryan. So you really caught her. Where's my big red envelope as the matchmaker? Ryan actually scratched his head. His steady, composed demeanor vanished instantly, like a caught young man. I looked at Zoe in surprise. She pulled me aside, lowered her voice. This guy has had his eye on you for ages. He was a grade above us, pursued you for a long time, but back then you only had eyes for Ethan. The snacks he sent all ended up in my stomach. After you broke up, he always asked indirectly how you were. With you stuck in that Ethan pit, how could you be well? So when you went to London, I accidentally told him your whereabouts, thinking you'd have someone to look out for you there. I was stunned. A vague figure in my memory gradually became clear. Ryan walked over, reached out and held me, his ears slightly red. Almost thought I'd really have to cling to this hope for a lifetime. He looked down at me. Luckily, I finally waited for you. After that night, Ethan disappeared for a long time. The next news of him was on social news. A Chinese man was found drunk on the street on a snowy night, nearly dying of hypothermia. He was saved, but his soul was gone. He didn't make a fuss, just stared out the window all day, his eyes terrifyingly empty, holding a wedding dress all day, muttering, "I lost Anna." The Ethan family finally gave up completely. They brought Ethan home, adopted a smart child from a collateral line. They finally gave Ethan the freedom he dreamed of. He could play music, wander the world, no one would control him. But he found it utterly meaningless. One day, he heard a shop in Akihabara sold customizable dolls. He went in, took out a photo. The wedding photo of me and Ryan had been roughly cropped, leaving only the part with me smiling. He used this incomplete solo photo to custom-make a life-size doll. Then, he carefully dressed the speechless, motionless Anna in that already somewhat dirty, heavily embellished wedding dress. From then on, he drove an RV, taking his bride from place to place, putting a straw hat on the doll by the sea, reserving a seat for the doll at restaurants. The last sighting was at a ski resort in Hokkaido. He drank all the alcohol in the vehicle, held his bride, and walked into a late-night blizzard. When staff found him, he was clutching the doll in the wedding dress tightly, even a hint of a satisfied smile on his lips. Police found a diary in his RV. Page after page was filled with repeated, "I'm sorry." On the last page, only one line. "Now, we can finally be together forever."